Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I had something to address that was on my mind. Wanted to give my opinions and my thoughts about it. And is this pandemic, or should I say epidemic? No, it's not a pandemic. It's more of an epidemic. It was a pandemic initially, but it's so ingrained into our culture that it's an epidemic, not a pandemic. It's not something that just all of a sudden overtook our culture. And you're probably asking yourself right now, like, what the hell is he talking about? I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the inappropriate relationships that are going on in the education system in schools with teachers and students. And it's a subject that people aren't talking about enough. But, I mean, it's being talked about, but it's only being talked about whenever something makes news, right? Whenever something hits the mainstream, and then people start to talk about it for a couple of weeks, and then it dies down until the next event occurs. Well, this is what I want to tell you guys, and I think that my audience members, looking at my analytics, most of you guys are in your early 40s, 50s, so I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I'm going to speak to you guys like intelligent people and let you know that once the mainstream news gives out its information, that you might as well multiply that times 50. So, give you an example. If there's a big news story about a teacher having sex with a student, that one story, just multiply that times 50. Probably more, and I'm being conservative by saying 50, because what you catch is not the stat. What you catch is to let you know that you have an infestation. Okay? Growing up, I'll give you an example. Growing up, when I grew up, in the apartments we stayed in, we had roaches galore. Infestation of roaches, okay? In the daytime, you would see one or two lingering around, and you think, oh, we only have one or two roaches. Only an imbecile would think you only have one or two roaches. The one or two that you catch is to let you know that you have an infestation. Okay? Because the other ones are staying hidden. They're hiding. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that the ones you catch on the news about the inappropriate relationships between student and teacher, those are the ones that get caught. There's so much more going on. Okay? It's an infestation in our education system. And there are numerous amount of reasons as to why. People who hold a biblical worldview would say because the world is going crazy, it's a sexual perverse culture, so people are losing their minds. Jesus is going to come and save the day. Okay, that's for the fairy tale people. It has nothing to do with the world living more in sin. The proclivities that we have as human beings has always been the same. Human beings have always been attracted to the opposite sex sexually, be it for pleasure or dominance. That's DNA, okay? But within our DNA and how we exert and how we act out what's going on internally inside of our, bodies has to have guidelines, protocols, and rules, right? And those rules are set in place for protection, for the civility of civilization. Civilizations has to be civil, hence the term civilization, because you have to be civil in a civilization. In order to have a civilization, there needs to be guidelines and expectations and rules and protocols, and things have to be ran in a way that benefits the whole, not just a few. So you may have a few nut jobs who have a fetish for sick perversions. We don't bend the rule for the exception. We exclude the exception, and we bend the rule for the norm, right? For the general. Nobody promotes adults taking advantage of children. Nobody promotes that. Now, the things that are going on in schools is complex. I don't think that these teachers, when they get hired, especially the young ones, be it male or female, I don't think they come to work jobs and they have this premeditation of, yeah, I'm going to be a teacher to have sex with students. I don't think that's what they get into education for. I don't think that's what they get into education for. As much noise is made about these stories, I don't think so. Now, if you told me to put a percentage on it, I would say 1%, maybe below 1%. I know you're always going to have one crazy nut job out there that's saying, yeah, I want to get into education and have sex with students. Okay. That's the sick-minded. That's a sicko. That's a psycho. I don't believe we have teachers who want to get into the profession for that reason alone. Okay. We have human beings who have a passion to teach. And even if they don't have a passion to teach, they have a passion to pay their bills. That can also drive you to get into education as well, or and get into any job, right? But what I want to do is get people ready and get their mindsets ready to shift into a position to understand that it's like a storm, like an avalanche that catches you off guard, like a tsunami that comes with no warning. And when these adults get into the teaching profession, be it male or female, with their mindsets not set on taking advantage of children and students and having sex with them, what I believe that happens is what happens to all of us in life. Our insecurities, our deficiencies, our vices, our selfishness, and our imbalance of viewing things in the world starts to show. Now, I know I said a bunch of things. You're probably trying to figure out, like, what is he talking about? I want you to follow me. All those things I mentioned, the vices, the imbalances, the selfishness that we have in our hearts, the loneliness that we may feel, the insecurities that we may have about ourselves, the lack of love that we have in our lives, all those things factor in, and they play a very pivotal role, a very integral role into why some of these adults do what they do. I believe, just as the children are victims of the adults, I believe that the adults are victims as well, because you know the saying, hurt people, victims victimize others, because through the lens of a victim, they can only operate through the lens of a victim, and they try to fill in the gaps, bridge those gaps of inefficiencies by leeching on to a less fortunate or the vulnerable. So they take advantage of the young, trying to supplement a void in their own hearts, because it's much easier to prey on the young and the vulnerable to fill a void that you have. Now, let me break this down. I don't have a script. This is just off the top of my head here. And when I said I had something to talk about earlier on my morning workout talk, I didn't have this thing framed. This is just me talking. I knew I was going to talk about the relationship stuff that's going on in schools, the inappropriate relationships with adults, with teachers and students. But in terms of how I was going to break it down, I didn't have an outline. So you're going to have to pardon me here if I'm kind of skipping all over the place, and try to stay with me as much as possible. Number one, let's talk about loneliness. Okay. There are many adults who get into the profession and they're lonely. You say, what does that have to do with anything? I'm going to explain. And by no means am I justifying these acts, because I have children of my own. I'll be very, very upset and very, very disappointed if a teacher was taking advantage of my daughter or son. Okay? But I'm trying to look at this with an objective lens and remove my emotions out of it, and look at some of the emotional principles within us. The energy, emotion, I taught you guys that emotion means energy, emotion. The emotions within us that lures us into these traps and makes us feel like we're doing something right, when in actuality what we're doing is very wrong. So let's talk about loneliness. So when people are lonely, when you get into the profession of teaching, what happens and that's why I'm saying all these things, because if you don't have, that's why I believe that before teachers, and this is just the top of my head right now, and this is why I was telling you guys that I'm gonna end up being all over the place, because as I'm talking, more thoughts are coming into my head. I believe that there's supposed to be some kind of They should have some kind of psychological evaluation for teachers before they end up being teachers, not just passing your content exams and going through the rigors of that. I believe that there should be some psychological component, a psychological test that that's used to, I don't know, to kind of gauge the mindsets of these adults before they get into the profession, to decrease the frequency of these actions, of this inappropriate actions. I know they do surveys, but the surveys are not invasive. They need to be in depth. The questions need to make people feel uncomfortable, because it's only when we become uncomfortable that we can start, eliminating some of these, taboo concepts that you're not supposed to talk about. We're supposed to talk about everything, bring everything to the light. That's how it gets exposed. And when it's exposed, then it can no longer be hidden, and then we can tackle the issue head on. Now let's talk about the concept of loneliness. So let's say a teacher gets a job, be it male or female. The female's attractive or the male teacher's attractive. They're young. I'm going to start with the young, then I'm going to go to the older, okay? If you're not content with yourself as a God, generator, organizer, and dispenser of your own reality. Generator, organizer, and dispenser of your own reality. That's the acronym for God. So when I say God, I don't want you Bible thumping people to be like, oh, he's playing blasphemy. There's only one God. He says we are gods. How can you say that God's going to send you to hell? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the acronym God. We are all generators and organizers and dispensers of our reality based upon our own perceptions, based upon the things that we ingest, based upon our thought processes, based upon what we allow to penetrate our souls via the optical nerves, our eyes, and what we tend to see every day. That's why people who are addicted to pornography have a very, very pornographic view of things. They can't even look at a woman without sexualizing her as a sexual object. And that becomes very, very sad when you can't even look at a human being for the soul that they are. You look at them as an object to use to fulfill your desires for pleasure, and that's the realm of selfishness that I talked about earlier, but I'm going to get to that later. Let's stick on the loneliness subject. So a teacher gets hired. They're lonely. They didn't come in with the intent to molest or sexualize kids. They want to teach. They want to be a teacher. They want to be a good teacher. They want to get their paychecks. They want to pay their bills. They want to feel proud. They want to do things right. And they want their kids to learn. But they feel lonely. So over the years of teaching, not the first year, maybe the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, who matters? It doesn't matter what year that teacher decides to cross that line. But let's stick to the foundational concept of the base principle, foundational precept of loneliness. What happens when you're a teacher? When you're a teacher, kids, students, they respect you. They look up to you. They adorn you. They flatter you. You're the teacher. There's a euphoric feeling that you get as a teacher when your students are looking up to you and they respect you. Yeah, we understand that kids these days are disrespectful, but that lonely female teacher or that lonely male teacher that finds that opposite sex student, male teacher finds that one female student that respects them. What man doesn't want respect? We're wired to want respect as men. Don't they teach us that a woman's supposed to respect her husband, and the husband is supposed to love his wife? Men don't care about love. They just want the wife to respect them. Men are big on respect. It's part of that pride and ego. Women want to be loved unconditionally. When they gain weight from having babies, no matter what they're going through, being hormonal, the ebbs and flows of their emotional state, they want to be loved no matter what. So that male teacher gets that female student that respects them, smiles at them. They're young. They continue to get that type of affection from that female student day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. It starts to wear on that male teacher. Flip it. Female teacher. She's lonely too. All right? she finds that man that young male in the classroom, all right, that gives her attention. She doesn't get attention. He sticks around, he talks to her. She's getting attention from him. She feels a sense of love within that dynamic. The boys are very visual. The female teacher is attractive. One thing leads to another. Next thing you know, they start talking more and more. After class, after school, numbers are exchanged. They start texting. One thing leads to another. And sex ends up being produced from that abominable union. Go back to the male teacher. He's getting respect from the female student. They talk every now and then. Months go by, they're still talking. He likes what he's getting from this female student. Need I remind you guys, he didn't get into the profession to have sex with the student. Remember, there's a pre-emotional state that takes place before the action manifests based upon the principle of loneliness. See, when you're lonely or when you feel lonely, the human will look for anything to fill that void, be it a temporary fix for that pain of loneliness, even when you know it's inappropriate. You'll overlook it if you're weak-minded. Many other male teachers feel the same way. They just have more to lose and not that much to gain. The younger male student has less to lose normally, because a younger male, what I mean is a younger male teacher, not the younger male student, but the younger male teacher has less to lose and more to gain in his head. The younger male teacher does not have a family, most likely doesn't have a wife, just single. So hey, if I get caught, whatever, I don't care. I gotta get this fixed. This girl respects me. She's young. She's attractive. She may be underage, but she looks womanly. If she lied to me and told me she was 20, I would believe it. I know she's only 17, but hey, man, I can't help it. I really like this girl. She listens to me. She respects me because I'm her teacher. She looks up to me. No other girl my age looks at me this way. I'm her teacher. She respects me. Then the man falls into the trap. Months go by. Inappropriate relationship manifests. Sex is conceived from that foundation, and voila, the male teacher finds themselves caught up. Female teacher, young, attractive. The young male student. Boys are being very visual nowadays. Boys are seeing porn on their cell phones. We live in a hypersexual culture. And even if we did not live in a hypersexual culture, we're sexual beings by nature. That's how we all got here, because our parents slept together and produced us. So let's not act like all of a sudden sex is a big deal today. It's always been a big deal. The boy knows that his teacher's attractive, but the young man doesn't have any plans on sleeping with her. But he just talks to her because he likes to be around the attractive teacher. The female teacher looks at the attention as a sign of love because she's not getting love. She feels lonely. She starts to look at the young man as an attractive young man. One thing leads to another. Sex happens. So I'm giving that scenario, and there's plenty. That's just me talking off the top of my head. But the main thing that I want you guys to get is that no one goes into the profession saying, "Oh, I'm gonna prey on kids." I don't think it happens that way. I think that there's something that's going on internally inside the adults that doesn't help them to mitigate their emotions to a point where they have to draw the line. And even when they do draw the line, when you're consistently seeing that person day in and day out and day in and day out and day in and day out, 5 days a week, it's a lot of pressure. And that's why earlier I talked about the avalanche that comes without warning, the tsunami that comes without warning, the crazy thunderstorm that comes without warning, because you don't see it coming. It just comes. You didn't plan for this. I don't think those teachers plan to have relationships with students. I really don't think so. I like to believe that they don't. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Now, you do have some sickos out there. Like, you do have pedophiles, like they prey on little children. When I say little children, I mean 9-year-olds and below, like the sick ones. Now, you may have those in the profession. That's the exception. But I'm talking about those inappropriate relationships in high school and sometimes in middle school. Okay? I'm talking about those relationships when there's a young teacher that's hired. Young teacher maybe in their early 20s. All right? And it's and the high school student that he or she is teaching, they almost look like they're in their same age group. I mean, I've been in some of these high schools. Some of these high school females and the students, the male students, some of the male boys, they look like grown ass men, especially the ones on the football team. They're built, they're strong, they're tall. Some of them are already growing facial hair. The girls dressing like they're going to clubs. Some of the clothes that these young girls are wearing should be banned. They shouldn't be allowed to go to school dressed like that. But hey, what do I know, man? So, loneliness is one. Then you have selfishness as another emotion that you feel like I'm entitled to this. Like, hey, man, I'm a teacher. I'm working hard. I should be respected. It's hard for a person who's lacking in a particular part of their lives to turn down something that's given to them so easily. You say, what am I saying? Well, a man who's hungry and starving for food and walks into a buffet and the manager says, hey, you can have anything you want in this buffet. Free, go at it. It's much harder for the man who's hungry, who's lacking food in his stomach, to turn down food that's given to him. It's hard for a teacher that's lacking emotionally in some type of emotional state. They're lacking something, right? It's hard for them to turn down children, students that are giving them things that they've never received before. Attention, respect, love, admiration. And we're not even talking about the physical aspect, because what do they say? The women's beauty and their peak is in their yesteryears, in their earlier years. As the older women get, they start to deteriorate. That's if they don't take care of themselves. And even if when they do take care of themselves, they can never look as good as they were in their earlier years. So you have male teachers that are young, all right? They're looking at these female students that are at their peak, 17 years old, 18, 19, some of them 19. And because in some cultures, you know, 17-year-olds get married. I forgot. Even in some states in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, there's certain states that allow 17-year-olds to get married, you know, with consent. And in some cultures, some are early as 15, 16. So it's really arbitrary. But what makes it look bad is that when you are the teacher having sex with a student, that entire narrative just looks bad. Now, if it was just a random adult having sex with a 17-year-old, it's still bad. It's all bad, but it's just much worse when you put it into the dynamic of education, when you put it into that realm, when you have it sectioned in that compartment of education, teacher to student, because that's not what students go to school for, and that's not what teachers are getting paid for. They're not getting paid to have sex with students, and nor are students being sent to school to have sex with their teachers. I think that entire dynamic is disgusting, and I think that's what gives it a very, very negative eye It's a sticky stigma, a stigma that's attached to that narrative. So, if you're not a person that's well balanced within yourself, don't get into the profession of teaching. Do not do it. You will be sucked in. And the reason why I'm telling you that, because it's more going on than you guys think. There's more to it. There's just a lot of teachers that are not getting caught. They're hiding it. Okay? And then especially the teachers who went to school. Of course, you have to go to school to be a teacher, and they're reminiscent of the years they had when they were younger, the opportunities that they did not have. Now they're teaching, they're popular. It's the teacher who did not get attention in school. Then all of a sudden you become a teacher, you're getting all the attention. You don't know how to act. Now you want to go back to your high school years. You forget that you're the adult, that you're the teacher. Now you're putting yourself in a mindset of a teenager. Then you find yourself having sex with a teenager as if you are a teenager. See, when teenagers have sex, it's okay because it's teenager on teenager. I mean, I'm not advocating and promoting that, but that's not frowned upon on the news. No one says, hey, a 14-year-old got caught having sex with a 14-year-old. They're going to be like, oh, okay, well, they weren't supposed to be doing that. Oh, well. But if the news said a teacher got caught having sex with a 14-year-old, then all of a sudden it makes news. So the mindset of the adult is very important. And that's why I believe that a psychological test needs to be done. A survey needs to be done to weed out the teachers who, a survey that comes out with results that gives you the indication of what teachers may have more of a proclivity to indulge in those type of, inappropriate relationships. Okay? Of course, you're never going to be able to weed out the perpetrators completely, because you can have people who can answer the survey questions the right way and still go in there and do what they want to do. But it's tough. It's tough. It's embarrassing when your face is on the news and they're not talking about you as a great teacher that's molding the minds of the youth or inspiring kids. They're talking about you sleeping with them, be it male or female. And I think that there's a two-sided narrative that goes with this. You have when the female teachers gets caught sleeping with a male student, it's like, oh, okay. It's like that's a stripe for the student. The male student gets a stripe on his chest for sleeping with his teacher. But if it's a male that sleeps with a female student, oh my God, he's headed to the guillotine. His head is chopped off. So I think that the way we perceive the sexes is very different. Like the genders are very different. I think that it's more frowned upon when a man does it. When a woman does it, it's more so like, really? But then the kid is not looked at as a victim. He's almost looked at like a person who's, peaked Mount Everest. He accomplished something that most students his age wish that they could accomplish, having sex with their teacher. So it's tough. It's tough. And then don't be a teacher, male or female, that actually works out and takes care of yourself. And watch how you dress as well. You cannot dress revealing, and that goes without saying. I don't even need to mention that. You can't, like, women. You may be curvy. You may blame it on your curves, but you cannot put on the same clothes as Kimberly puts on. If Kimberly has a flat chest and a flat butt, she can wear tighter clothes and get away with it. If you're curvy and you're what they call thick, you cannot wear things that reveal your thickness. You have to be very wise, because these teenage boys their hormones are on 10. And if you're continually doing that, those kids are not in the classroom to learn. They're in the classroom watching your ass. Literally watching your ass, like focused on your buttocks. And they're looking at it, man, I would love to sleep with this teacher. And if you give them the chance, they'll do it. These young males don't have their brains fully developed. Their frontal lobe is still in the process of developing. So they're basing every action that they take, they're basing it off of impulse and hormones. And if a young man is horny, he'll have sex with you in his car, in your car. They don't give a damn. But you as the adult should know better. so you do better. Let kids dress the way they dress. But you as the adult, you have to be the one to be a defensive driver. They teach you a defensive driver to drive for others. You have to think for others. You have to say to myself, I'm curvy. I know I can't wear these things because I know what these kids are looking at. But then again, it goes back to what I said earlier. If you're a teacher who didn't get attention in high school and you perceived yourself to be a nobody, you lacked love in your life, whatever the ailments or the emotional deficits are that you carry, the insecurities that you carry, they will come up and they will rise to the point where you cannot hide it. And you cannot hide it because when you know better, you're still willing to not do better. Meaning that you know you have the courage, but you continually to wear those tight dresses and tight clothes and tight jeans and wearing heels to work because you love the attention, you love the eyeballs looking at you. It gives you some sort of satisfaction and a sense of fulfillment because young children or young students looking at you and giving you attention makes you feel good. And even your colleagues giving you attention makes you feel good. So in your attempt to get attention from your colleagues, you may be indirectly or inadvertently, all right, getting attention from students who are plotting to sleep with you. These kids are smart. They'll just keep talking to you. And then the teachers, they let their guard down like, oh, wow, I can do whatever I want to do with this boy. Okay, come to the back seat of my car. Let's talk. The next thing you know, you guys are doing what you're not supposed to be doing. So it's many things go into it, guys. It's more than just teachers are going in there to do that. I think they get caught up. And the students do, both. You know, we have eyes, folks. Attraction, people, beauty doesn't have age. I mean, you can, whether it's a young student or an old student, people can look at anything and admire the attractiveness of it and say, oh, that's a handsome man, or that's a pretty girl, or that's a good-looking young man, that's a beautiful girl. Like, you know, but what you do with what you perceive and what you see is two different things. Like, it's one thing to see something and acknowledge it for what it is. Then it's another thing to act upon what you just acknowledged. Like, I can see a nice car and say, man, that's a nice Range Rover. But then if it's so nice, will I go break into it and steal it? So that's a difference. Like, you can see something, you admire it, and just keep moving along. You don't have to do anything about it. But you have to be mentally strong and mentally focused. And I think it's very hard in these days for teachers. It's hard on them. They are already underpaid. I would suggest that teachers, if you have a social media page, take it down. If you have an Instagram, take it down. And if you do have an Instagram, you better not have photos on there that kids can go on and look at. Look like a teacher. Like, your profession has to bleed into your social life. I'm sorry. I know people say you're not supposed to bring your work home, but there are certain professions where you have to be very careful of what you do in your outside life, in your out of school life, in your out of job life. Like, what you do outside of your job matters. Like, it matters. All right. You can't be a teacher then on weekends you're stripping. What happens if somebody takes a picture and then it starts to circulate? Oh, then my teacher's a stripper. How are your students gonna view you? Same thing as a male teacher. If you're buff and you work out, stop wearing those tight medium shirts. Like, we don't care about, like, of course you care about your muscles, but you don't need to wear things that show off your muscles because those young teenage girls are looking at you. And women grow up wanting to be with men that are secure financially, that are smart, that they feel that they can be protected by. So here they're looking at a teacher that has everything that they desire. Most of these girls have a very mature mind. And scientific studies show that women do mature faster than men. All right? They have more chromosomes than men too at birth. They mature faster mentally. So while boys are looking at the looks, females look at looks as well. Of course, I'm not saying that young students in school, high school, don't look at looks. But if they see a male teacher that's financially stable, that's smart, that they feel like this man can take care of me, that sexually gets them aroused too. because it arouses their emotions, which then leads into the physical parts of their bodies as well. They get aroused by that. It's not just, oh, my teacher is nice and buff. Looking at men with muscles is one thing. Looking at a man that's fit, that's smart, because he's actually your teacher, he's teaching you, that's a turn on for a young female student. So you can see that it's very difficult to send teachers into the lion's den where there's all sorts of mixtures of frequencies and vibrations that are being sent all over the place, and it's hard to mitigate attraction. What you're attracted to, you're attracted to. You can't mitigate attraction, but what you can do is mitigate the action. But that's hard, because when you have attractions that have gone wild, and I say gone wild because you're not supposed to be attracted to your students, but it happens. It happens. Attractions, they come. It's not something that you, true attraction. I'm not talking about just, oh, I see the student, I'm attracted. No, I'm talking about the attraction that sneaks upon you. Like, you started teaching, all of a sudden you find yourself, why am I talking to this student more and more? Wow, I really love and enjoy being around this student. The female teacher is like, oh my God, like, I really like being around Brian. You know, after football practice, he comes to my office, he comes to tutorials a lot. It's usually always centered around the job. Extra help, tutorials, after school practice, things like that. Whenever you find yourself spending more time with that student, there's an attraction that's birthed from the experiences that you continue to have with each other. That's what you call organic attraction. Not the shallow attraction that a man flipping through a magazine says, ooh, she looks good, she got big boobies and big butt, I see. Not that kind of attraction. That's the shallow kind. That type of attraction is not that dangerous, because that's fleeting. That could come and go. The type of attraction that's dangerous is the one that you don't seek. You're not looking for it. It happens organically. Because when it's organic, your sense of logic diminishes and your emotional state takes over. When your emotional state takes over, then all common sense is out the window, because then all of a sudden now you're risking your livelihood actually contemplating having a relationship with a student. And it starts with contemplation, because you start to consider it. And when you consider it, and when I say relationship, I don't mean like boyfriend, girlfriend. I mean getting to the point where you guys have a connection. It ends up leading to sexual behavior. I mean, that's what happens. All right? The human beings, man, human beings are very complex creatures. And unless you are a well-rounded person that had a normal, I don't even know what the hell that means anymore, but a normal upbringing and a normal, like, high school, middle school upbringing, if you don't feel like you're missing out on something, then you can go into teaching. But if you go into teaching and feeling like you missed out on something in your childhood, it's almost like you're being thrown back in the past and you have a chance to relive your childhood again. You forget that you're the teacher. Then you start putting yourself in a state of a student. And I think that's what really happens to people. They forget what they were brought to do because their emotional state takes over the logical aspects of their brain. Their actions become illogical. They're bereft of any common sense. And they're left there just being driven by their hormones. Hormonal. Right? Stimulations occur all the time. And we have to guard ourselves against them. You know, even as a married man, you know, I go to the gym. You don't think there's certain females in there that are staring at me? I started actually talk about that one day, but I said, no, I'm not going to talk about that. But since I'm on the subject, I'm not going to go in depth, but it is one girl in the gym. She's always looking at me, waving at me. I'm like, why is she waving at me? I mean, she sees my ring that I'm a married man. I know it doesn't matter nowadays. Being married, saying that you're married doesn't mean doesn't mean anything. You have married people that are doing more dirt than people who are not married. So, but what I'm saying is that that's dangerous to me. That's a dangerous woman because she doesn't know who I am. Most men will bite the bait. Oh man, she's staring at me, and I don't know if her butt's real or not. Like, she has a nice figure. Like, guys, listen to me. I want you guys to listen to me. Listen to me. listen. I'm not talking about this. This girl that I'm talking about is not somebody you just look up and just keep going. She's nice, okay? But I'm in the gym for a purpose, to work out, to get the hell out. I'm not in there to pick up girls, to get numbers. I'm just in there to just do what I need to do and get out. But I found myself, and notice, you remember, growing up, they always told you as a man that you need to be the aggressor. Women, you wait for the man to get you. Like, what happened to that? I guess, like I said, those old traditional values are being thrown out the window. Women nowadays are being very aggressive. So she's already giving me signs that she wants my attention. No, I'm serious. This has been going on for weeks. And at first I was like, okay, maybe we just caught eyes and she waved at me. When I say catch eyes, I mean, I catch eyes with a lot of people, males too. Doesn't mean I'm attracted to them. Catch eyes meaning that I'm working out, and I put my weights down. I happen just to be looking around, and somebody looks, and we both look at each other for like a split second, and we keep moving. That's what I mean by catching eyes. When I say catching eyes, I don't mean just like, she caught my eye. No, I don't mean that way. Like I said, I can see attraction and move on. She's not the only attractive girl that I've ever seen in the gym. There are other attractive girls that I see. I'm not led by my penis. I'm led by my mind. And I'm led in a way to balance things and not let anything control me. I control the situation. All right? But she doesn't know what kind of man that I am. She thinks that I'm a typical man. So she'll see and give me that wave and wave at me and go, I'm like, why? But then I start to watch her. I'm like, she's not doing that to anybody else. Like, if she was just waving at random guys in the gym, then I'm like, okay, that's what she does. She does it to me only, that I've seen. And she seeks me out. There are times when I'm doing my abs and she'll walk by and she'll make sure she looks at me. So I'm like, you know what? Let me not act like I'm trying to ignore her. So I'll just look and we'll both wave and I just keep doing my workout, right? And she has sent so many signals of, I want you to talk to me. How the hell, why would you want a married man to talk to you? That's not a good woman. A good woman would not even wait. Listen to what I'm telling you guys. Listen to what I'm telling you guys. You have to be very smart. And this is how you don't allow your emotions to take control of you. If you have a strong premise, if you have a strong foundation, okay? I'm not lacking in anything, meaning that my wife satisfies me at home. I'm not seeking other women to satisfy me. And it's not worth it for me I have 3 kids and a wife. We've built a lot together. It's not a piece of ass. Is not worth losing all. It's not worth it. Okay. The trust and the trust that I've built with my wife is not worth it for me to throw it all away from a piece of ass. Like, that's not. No, I don't operate that way. But most men do. Most men do. And the reason why I'm saying is I feel like she's insulting my intelligence is because most men would have been already on it, because that's a clear giveaway of what she wants. All right. What do you mean what she wants? Well, she wants to see this is what I believe in. This is all theory. All right. And I don't have anything to validate what I'm saying as something that'll confirm this as being true, like some sort of confirmation tool to say, okay, this is confirmed that this is what she's thinking. No, I don't have that. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't read her mind. But this is what I do know. I know this for a fact. Maybe she may admire my workouts. Maybe she looks at me like, man, that guy's disciplined. He's dedicated. I like that. Maybe she's attracted to that. So there are things that a lot of women are attracted to, but that's okay. You can be attracted to it. That's okay. And maybe she can't help herself. And this is me just giving her excuses. Now, once the excuses are thrown out the window, then I'm left to go with my second option. My second option is to say that this girl is premeditated. She's premeditating these acts. She's seeking me out to see, because certain women, as a man, you are more attractive when you are married. You say, why would a woman find you more attractive if you're married? Well, because they want to see, they know that if they can get you to look at them and give them attention and seek them out as a married man, then that just raises their ego. Because women have ego too. It's like, damn, I got a married man chasing me. Single men she can get. Let's see, this guy, I know he's married. As a matter of fact, she's seen my wife in the gym because there's certain times when we have like breaks where my wife's schedule and my schedule are okay, and we both go to the gym together, because usually my wife will go, she goes to the gym in the afternoons and I go in the mornings. So she's seen me and my wife in the gym work out. So it's not like she's like, doesn't know that I'm married. She's seen her, but she doesn't care. So I think that she's trying to test me, but I'm gonna pass the test because I'm not gonna fail it. Because I know, see, I know what's going on. So that's what thinking people do. They think they know what's going on. A man who thinks with his penis is like, man, she got a big old ass. Oh man, she looking at me, man. I'm gonna try to. Oh, what's up? Can I get her number? Oh, so we can. And you start plotting in your head, where can we meet to just? It's too much energy, man. I got 3 kids that wear me out. I got a wife who I have to meet her emotional needs. Like, that's why being married is a good thing, especially for men, young men, because it keeps you to a certain degree. You know, it keeps you tamed. You know what I mean? Like, you can't forsake your children, forsake your wife, start pursuing women. You can't do that. And if you do, it comes at a cost. All right? But that's not the reason why I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because that's dangerous. Because think about it. A woman who knows you're married, who's willing to still put herself out there like that, imagine what she'll do if you get with her. Let's say I abandoned my children and abandoned my wife, and I go chase this girl, right? And then we get together, you know, which is dumb as hell because you got with a woman who was seeking you out when you were married. What do you think she's going to do to you when you get with her? See, once women like that conquer men like that, like they conquer men that are married, they don't respect you. They respect you more. Women respect you more when you ignore them. Women respect you more as a married man. That's what I mean. I don't mean as a single man. As a single man, you know, you go out there, you know, it's it's like a competitive sport. Everyone's seeking to get the most attractive female and so on and so forth. So, but I think that's probably what raises her attraction to me even more, because I don't give her attention. She thinks that, because the first time she waved at me, I was just walking by her, she was on the elliptical, and I'm walking to the locker room after I was done, and she waved at me. I'm thinking, okay, does she think she knows me? And I just waved back because I don't want to be rude. I'm like, go to the locker room. I didn't think anything of it. Then it just starts to go on, and you know, so that's that inviting wave, like, hey, I want to talk to you. No, you're not gonna talk to me. No, I'm gonna stay far away from you, man. You know, play with fire, you get burned. And that's why I talked about earlier about teachers getting into the profession. Like, if you lack certain things in your life, if you have not done an emotional evaluation, and if you're not self-aware of your own emotions, if you're not emotionally intelligent, if you're not, like, if you don't know yourself, don't get into the teacher profession, because it's too easy to find yourself in those compromising situations where you lose sense of self, and you end up putting yourself back in the state of mind as a child, and you're not a child anymore. You're an adult. And when parents send their kids to school, they think that their children are being watched by responsible adults, not adults that have emotional problems, who feel the need to use their child as a means to supplement those gaps. That's not what parents are sending their students to school for. So yeah, so with this girl, man, I'm careful. You know, you have those men that says, yeah, you know, those men who end up having a divorcing their wives, or their wives divorce them because the man cheated. Then the man who cheated ends up being with the woman that they were with, like the quote unquote side piece, who they were messing around with when they were married. Then you wonder why that relationship ends up going sour, because the same way she met you is the same way it's something that they always do. You have to be an idiot to think that a woman who knows that you're married, she still messes around with you. You leave your wife for this new chick, you think that she's going to be faithful to you? Come on, man. It feels good for a moment for a woman to feel like they've conquered a married man. I mean, I think that's what it's about. I think that people are more attracted to things that they cannot have. than attracted to things that they can't have. When something comes too easy, you lose the, the not that the value of it is lost, but the excitement of the hunt, the excitement of achieving it is sort of diluted because it came easy. To get something that's not supposed to be gotten is like the trophy, right? So no, man. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. And trust me, if I showed you guys how she looked, most of you guys would be like, damn, man, really? Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think like that. And she's not the only attractive girl I've seen in that gym. It's not that serious, man. It's really not. It's really not that serious. It's not that serious. So you guys have to be careful, because she should feel like, man, even let's say she is attracted to me, right? And she says, man, that is a handsome young man. Ooh, I would love to talk to him, but oh, he's married. I would respect her more if she just walked by me and act like I didn't exist. That's what she's supposed to do. You can keep all your thoughts to yourself. I don't want to keep all your thoughts to yourself. But when it gets to a point where you can't even subdue your emotional state, that you have to actually start to act it out by waving and smiling at me, then it begs the question, like, what's going on inside of you, in your head? Are you plotting? I mean, tell me what you guys think. Do you think she's just being nice? Because I don't think she's just being nice. Because she's not doing it to everybody else. She's doing it to me. And not only is she doing it to me, she knows she's attractive. Some of the stuff she wears to work out, and she knows exactly what she's doing. So yeah, man, I'm not getting sucked into that. I don't think that she's just being nice. And then if it's just you guys may be thinking, well, you're looking too far into it. I don't think I am, because it's consistent. It's consistent smiling at me. It's like consistency. It's like she's seeking me out. I'm being honest. All right. Now, I do get a lot of people in the gym that respect me. I have people come up to me like, man, I like how you work out. Guys, they'll say, man, you keep moving, you're sweating. Man, I like your battle ropes. Sometimes you have that unspoken symbol of respect between males. Like, you walk by and you kind of just like, yeah, what's up? You keep moving. That happens with the guys with me. And sometimes they'll come up to me, dab me up and say, what's up, man? I see you working out hard, man. I get other guys who tell me, who give me respect because of my workout. Okay, not that I'm lifting heavy weights. They just see my dedication. I'm in there consistently. I'm doing things that normally other people aren't doing, because other people lift. I'm running, I'm jumping, I'm doing HIIT workouts. So real recognizes real. When people who are dedicated and have a great enthusiasm for going into the gym, and they see another person that equally has that same passion, then there's a respect factor. And me too. It's a respect factor. I've walked by people who were lifting weights, who were struggling with the bench, and I come and just spot them and keep going. And they look up and be like, man, thank you. It's a respect factor. I respect the fact that you're trying to lift something that's heavy and you're struggling. I don't even know who the hell you are, but I just gave you a spot. I don't even know your name. I don't care to know your name. I just care that you're in the gym. So we have that type of exchange that's going on inside the gym within the male. Now with a female, I don't see why. Maybe okay, you know what? Maybe she respects me on that front. But I don't know, man. Maybe I'm thinking too hard, but I just feel like, dude, stop waving and smiling at me, man. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. You may be fishing, but this fish is not going to go to that hook. I know that worm on there is fake. I'm not going to try to go for that worm and get hooked onto the hook. You're not going to reel me in. Not going to reel me in. That's the type of things we as married men, we have to navigate. You have to be very careful. Everything that glitters is not gold, because something that starts sweet usually has bitter endings. All right, you have to think. You have to think. So yeah, man. I know I kind of got off subject there, but yeah, the subject was talking about those relationships in schools. It's just it happens, and I think that it happens more often than what's shown. And even the teachers that don't do anything, I'm sure they have their moments of lapses and weaknesses. They have to catch themselves. It's tricky. It's tricky. It's tricky. It's tricky. It's tricky. All right, man. I've talked for about 55 minutes. All right. Thank you guys for listening to the to this video. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. And by no means, I'm not justifying. I'm not saying that it's okay. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to look at I'm just giving my perspectives on, or my opinion on the why. Because we see the symptoms. The symptoms that we see is put forth in the form of inappropriate relationships between teacher and student. That's the symptom. There's a causation. There's a reason for it. But the reason is not, oh yeah, these teachers go and they're predators. That's too easy of a cop-out. I deeply don't believe that teachers are going into the profession for that. I don't think so. I think they're really going in there to teach. They want to teach. But I think there's something that goes on within the dynamic of student to teacher relationship in the realm of teaching that sort of convolutes our emotional states, especially when we're coming from foundations that are broken, lapses and gaps that we have, and traumas that we hold as adults. We end up taking that with us inside the classroom, and somehow, some way, we get those voids filled by those students, and then things happen because of that. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm just trying to. There's a reason why, but it's based on emotion, because we're led by our emotions. We're led by our hormones, which transmit neurological signals to the brain, which dictates how we behave. All right, from a molecular perspective. Okay, and before somebody gets horny, it's the thought that initiates it. Before a man turns on porn to watch it, it's something that happens before he turns on the porn. There's something that he perceives that he lacks, that he feels that he's gonna get that fulfillment by watching that video. Okay? So yeah. And the reason why I'm talking about the student relationship thing, because remember on Ticket TV's YouTube channel, you should check out his channel, Ticket TV. He had a story about the Omaha substitute teacher who got caught in the back of a SUV having sex with a male student. Cops came and she was found naked and she was arrested, the whole thing. But that's not the first story that I've heard, and I've heard many more. But that's why I was talking about it, because I heard him talking about it, and I just wanted to add my opinion on how I feel about the current state of the educational system as it relates to student to teacher relationships. And we have to be very careful as adults. And there have been situations. I remember in my I think my high school, one of the teachers ended up getting married to one of the students, not while they were a student, but after the student graduated from high school, and I think there's sophomore, junior year in college, that science teacher that taught the student ended up marrying her. But I mean, at that time, she's an adult now. I mean, it's okay. But who knows where they have the reason why I'm saying that, I'm asking, were they having a relationship while she was a student? But I don't know. Who knows, man? Who knows? All right, thank you guys for listening. All right.